Welcome to the Sports Card Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Big Ken. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. You'll be notified whenever I drop any new content. Welcome. Thanks for being here. How is everyone doing? As you can see, I still have Arrowhead Stadium virtual background going. I'm glad my fantasy team is doing well because my real team here, the Chiefs, they seem to be on the struggle bus lately. Trying to win games. Um, so hopefully they'll figure that out before the playoffs. But let's jump into today's episode. I talked about a busy week in the hobby last week, and it just kept going. It just kept going. At this point, right? The title of the episode, I feel like I'm riding a hobby wave right now. Things are going so well for me right now in the hobby. Do you ever get into that groove, when good things just keep coming, and a lot of times you hear the opposite, right? People say, "Oh, can it get any worse?" Right? But for me, just what's been going on this last couple weeks in the hobby, I just feel like I'm just riding this hobby wave right now. Um, First, a huge shout out to my man Eric on IG at hc.cards, a fellow Rodman super collector, and who's become a great friend in the hobby. He reached out to me back on Thanksgiving about a card he knew I'd been chasing for a while that he had come across. So he passed the information on to me. Um, and I went to work. I was able to make a deal for the card. It was 2021 Parkside Volume 1 Trinity Rodman variation card. And if you've seen the socials, Facebook, Instagram, just posted this card up. I'll just hold it up anyways here. It's one of it's a pretty rare card. Um, it was a variation card. I don't know exactly how many of those were made, but so hard to come to find that card. And when you do, it's almost impossible to get it at a reasonable price. Um, this one was actually priced very high, but the person selling it was okay to come way down and make the deal. So I made the deal. I had to wait 2 weeks for this card. It was an eBay buy. Had to go through authentication. I had to wait for it to be delivered. It was like 2 weeks, but I was glad it came. I was so excited. I posted it up on the socials, describing just how rare it is, and the only other one now that I need is this 2021 Rookie of the Year auto redemption, from Parkside of Trinity Rodman. And through one of those posts, I get a message from someone telling me that they have this exact same card, this variation card, and they also have the card that I've been looking for, the Rookie of the Year redemption auto. And he says, "I'm looking to sell them." And I thought, dear diary, jackpot, right? I mean, that's all it took was for me to get one card and post it up there to attract, another card that I'm looking for. And it just reminds me of when we're talking about, selling at shows to, put cards in your case that you want to attract cards like it. You want people to come to your table and say, "Oh, I have a card just like that," or "I see you have that. Maybe you're interested in this." And that's the same type of thing, on the Facebook and Instagram. When you put this up, not only will you get people, do I find you get people, but I make more friends. Right? More people say, "Wow, that's a nice card." And then they send me a message. "Hey, where did you find that? What did you pay for it? I've been looking for that." Like that. And then all of a sudden we just start talking, right? And sometimes it feels like you're in competition with some of these people. And I have to say, and why I'm giving a huge shout out to my guy Eric, uh he it's never a competition. We're always talking about different cards. I'm getting somewhat of an education too of some other things and early Parkside stuff because he was there at the time. I'm looking back on that now. Um, but it never feels like a competition. It's just I get something, he gets something. If I see something, I'll say it to him. If he sees something, if he knows I'm looking, like he knows, he pretty much has a solid Trinity Ramen collection. So all these cards that I'm picking up now, he somehow has multiples of these cards. So it's nice to have a friend like that that's saying, hey, I saw this here or this here, and I think you can get this at this price, or you could probably get a better price. That's awesome. I just, this kind of thing in the hobby, especially when it's a particular person, right? It's pretty great. So, anyways, I got this message from this guy who's got these cards, and he says, "Look, I'd really like to move both these cards together. I really don't want to do them separately. I really don't want to sell them on Facebook. I really don't want to sell them on Instagram. I really don't want to put them on eBay or some of those auction sites. You know, I see what you're putting up there. I've looked back through a lot of your posts. I know you're a collector. And, if you're interested, I'd like to make a deal with you for this." So that worked out perfectly for me. It took less than 24 hours to get the deal done, and the cards are being shipped overnight. And I don't have to wait a week or two. These I'm going to have these things in hand tomorrow. Very excited about getting these cards and this working out the way it did. And not only will I end up where, up till a few weeks ago, I had no variation cards. Now I'm going to have two of the variation cards. And it's a chase card that I thought that was going to be a long time before I was able to acquire one. You know, Somebody else had reached out to me, I think maybe a month ago, 5 weeks ago. I had reached out to them because I know through Eric, you know, he knew that they knew somebody else who had one of these cards, these the Rookie of the Year auto redemption, and said, you should ask this person. Maybe, you'll get that information. So when I reached out, this person said, look, I'll check with them. I don't think they're selling. Came back, said, no, they're not selling. Then about a month later, messaged me and said, are you interested? I'm thinking about selling mine. And we went back and forth for about 3 days on it. And we never really got to the money part of it. And I think at the end, it just decided I can't let it go. I just right now I just can't let it go. And I understood that. And I thought those were the type of situations I was going to run into. Um, and when this came up and we were talking about this last night, and I figured the deal was just about done. We were like one click away from saying, yes, it's done. And this particular person last night said, you know what? Let me sleep on it tonight. I just want to make sure I'm doing the right thing and I'm going to feel okay letting these cards go. And then by today, it was a done deal. So, and I can understand that. I can understand, like, when you've got cards like that are pretty rare, because, once you let those go, it's probably a good chance you're never going to be able to acquire those cards again, or acquire it. Like these particular, he still has the redemption card that he pulled out of the box in 2021. So this was a card that he actually pulled himself, and then he had to send it in and be redeemed. So still had that too. So it's not a card that he had spent a whole lot of money on to acquire it. That it was a card that he pulled and kept it for a number of years. So I mean, I know how we feel. I absolutely 100%. I think we all do in the hobby. Certain cards, especially me as a dealer, certain cards, like I talked about every card having a story and being able to tell the story. And, when that card goes, you can't tell the story again. And I almost think that, the same thing, when you have a card like that and you finally sell it, the story goes away with it too. And crazy thing about this was he was so worried. He was taking all these pictures of the edges and the corners and the surface. And I said, hey, I know these cards historically, they don't grade well. They don't. It was the first year that Parkside put these cards out. And the they just didn't grade well. There was issues with these cards. I don't think I've ever seen, um actually, I shouldn't say that. I have a number of I don't even know why I started to say that. I have a number of the PSA 10s, of cards that were, higher production cards. But these lower production cards, these autos that were numbered to, 50 or 250, or in these cards that only a few of them are produced. I haven't seen any 10s of these low produced cards. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Um, the more mass produced cards, there was a lot of tens that came out because you get a better opportunity, a better chance to have, one that came out perfect. But historically, I know these cards don't grade well. And B, I said, look, I'm not that worried about it. It's a PC card. It's not a flip. It's not like I'm taking this card and I'm looking at the corners and the edges and the surface because I want to grade it and I want to, 10x my money on it and sell it somewhere. No, this card's going into my PC. It's not leaving my PC. Um, I'm happy to own the card. I'm not worried about owning the highest grade or the most. It would be nice to have it, right? But at this point, I'm just excited to be able to own the card, have it in my PC, in my collection. I also struck up a deal this week in another soccer group, women's soccer group, for a 2021, another 2021 Parkside. This was the Sophia Smith. It's the blue auto, and I'm going to hold that up there. If you're on YouTube, you'll see it. It's the Sophia Smith Blue Auto. So I was able to do that. I waited a little while for that one to show up, but it did show up. Again, very excited about having the card. I know the card is not going to 10. It's the card looks very clean, but I can almost guarantee I know, I've never seen any of these autos, the Smith or the Rodmans. I've never seen any of them 10. So whatever it comes back at as it does, but again, it's just going into my PC. Interesting thing about some of these higher end chase cards, that when the market was good last spring and summer and going into the national and World Cup for the women, uh, very, very few of these cards were for sale. And if you remember, if you'd been around listening then to the podcast going into the national, that was one of the chase cards was the Trinity Rodman. I was looking for the purple auto, the rookie auto. Not even this nice rookie of the year auto that I just acquired, but just the purple that would have been there was only 50 of those made. So hard to find. I was so excited that I found one person at the national that had the blue, not the purple auto, but the blue auto, and I bought it. I came back super excited. You can go back and see those episodes after the national recaps when I was gloating about being able to buy this card. I was so excited. Now that it's interesting now that the NWSL season is over and the market is down, it seems like all of a sudden these cards are popping up everywhere and everybody's saying, I'm thinking about selling. I might want to, and now the prices are much lower than they've been, over the last few years, even over the last 6, 8, 10 months. These prices are down now. So and I'm talking about riding a wave, right? I'm like, not only am I getting these cards that I've been looking for, but I'm getting these cards at some really good prices that I thought I would never be able to purchase these cards for. Um, you know, we all do this, right? We all put money aside in the hobby. We got our little kitty on the side. We say, well, we're going to put this money there. It's going to earmark it for this card or that card or something something in the hobby. And then all of a sudden, when some of these cards come up and you realize they're much lower, you're like, ooh, I could buy another one here. I could buy a couple more cards because now all of a sudden I ended up acquiring this card less than, I thought I was. And I'm only basing that right on prices and sales over the last few years since I started PCing her. So again, really excited to be able to get these cards at these really good prices. An exciting time for me, right? Um, Last Thursday night, my man Craig at New York City Sports Cards, he sends me a story post of someone selling some, well, yes, you guessed it, some Trinity Rodman cards. And I look at the story sale and I see, that he's going to be set up at the Philly show. And then I'm looking at the prices and I'm like, oh my God, these prices, I just could not believe the prices. And these were PSA 10 Trinity Rodman cards. Um, One of them I already have. Actually, I have two of these. This will be a number 3 for me. But when I saw the price, I thought to myself, how can I say no? How can I say no to that price? Knowing that one I pulled, I was very excited to send it off to be graded, and it came back at 10. And then one, my man Jordan Zips Cards, he bought a raw one, graded it, came back at 10. I bought that one off of him. And now this one here is less than half the price of the last one that I bought it for. Um, Ridiculously cheap. Uh, so I just couldn't say no. I just could not say, especially when there's only a pop 13 on the card. And now I own 3 out of the 13 that are out there. And he had another, it was a PSA 10. So he had 2 cards and they were ridiculously cheap. So I immediately go to his IG. I sent him a message and I didn't hear back. And I send the message saying, hey, look, I'm not going to Philly, but I'd like to do a deal for these cards. We could just do it online. I'll pay you and you can just ship them to me. I didn't hear anything back. And I know those, if you're not, you know, you're not following somebody or they're not following you, I know they go to the message request and I know they can be tricky. So I would never, like, sometimes I go, oh my God, there's a request. And then I see it's from a few days ago. I'm like, oh my God, I feel terrible, because I didn't pick up on that early. So I know myself that could be tricky. So I went back again to the IG on Friday and saw he had his cards listed, said, click on the mascot app that he had. And, it showed all the cards he had at the show, at the Philly show, and it gave his table number. First of all, I thought that was pretty amazing to be able to see that. So Friday afternoon, I see in a group chat, Tony from Cousins Collectibles, he's going to the Philly show. And I say, hey, look, if you're there, can you go to this table number? Like, I'd like to make a deal, for these 2 cards. I mean, I'm sure they're going to be there. Number one. And number two, I don't think there was many Trinity Rodman fans, buying, it's not, I don't think there's that many of us out there that I would be worried that these cards actually sold at the Philly show. They could, but I didn't think. I figured they would be there. And I said, hey, could you go over? So in the group chat, Craig says, hey, I sent you that. I know this guy. Let me hook you up. So he got a message with the 3 of us in there, and probably within 15 minutes, I had a deal done I bought the cards for even less than he had them. Like I felt terrible saying, hey, will you take this? But I mean, it's right. I mean, if you're already listing them at this price, you've got to be expecting somebody to offer you a little bit less. And it was an easy deal. I bought the cards right from my home. I didn't have to even go to the Philly show. I didn't. And you would think I'm right here. I'm in Connecticut, and the Philly show is a really big show. But I made that trip to Philly last year. I did that last February. I went down there. It's like 6 to 7 hours round trip drive to go to that show and the drive back. And last year I talked about being a little disappointed at that show that I went down. I never ended up buying anything. I ran into so many people. I talked to so many people. It was really good, hobby time, to, really connect with people. It was a great show for that. But as far as the cards go, I was just disappointed in the pricing at the show. And I just felt, this year I'm going to pass on that. It's just, again, it's just a long, I talk about how I hate to be sitting in the car for, to go back and forth in traffic to some of these shows. And I know this weekend, I'll be down in Long Island at Hofstra. I'm going to be sitting in traffic again. Not going there, but coming home. So I just figured, I had a weekend off. I hit a local show, and that would have been good enough. But here with this mascot, I set up an account, I logged in, and I went and I searched to see who was selling Trinity Rodman cards, and of all the people who had signed up and put the information in, this guy was the only one selling them. So it was just kind of cool to say, okay, I mean, I'm sure at a later date it's going to be easier going to these shows, and I would think the national, right? To be able to go in and type in, hey, I'm looking for women's soccer, or I'm looking for, because last year at the national, there was probably about 4 or 5 of us that were selling, women's soccer and WNBA and stuff like that. And when somebody came to somebody else's table, they asked, is anybody else? And they say, oh yeah, we know the sports card lessons is over here. And I was doing the same thing. These people are here, this other, so we were directing people like, there was only so many of us there, and we really kind of had the market cornered with that. And I think if this is set up for the national, it's really going to help people being able to really be able to find, because that's the difficult thing, right? When you go, especially when a show is busy and you can't even see in somebody's case, man, it'd be so awesome if I could just go on my phone and say, hey, I'm looking for, these cards, and here they are at these booths. Then I can make my way and make a plan and make that happen. The person, I'm not exactly sure. I met Ezra from Mascot. I met him at the Gillette show a few weeks ago, and he was the representative for Mascot. And he talked to me a little bit about, and he was talking primarily about putting one card up for sale and it being listed on multiple platforms, which I thought, wow, that's great. Like if I'm selling a decent amount of cards online. But I had no idea that, we did all this extra stuff. Either that, or maybe I just missed it being so busy in the conversation. But I'm going to reach out to him and see if we can get him to come on and do an interview and just talk about everything that this product can do, because I think it's going to be somewhat of a game changer when it comes to shows. Another shout out to my man Derek on IG at DAISUKEMP 33. Dasukemp 33. I had listed some Donruss Women's World Cup hits. I had bought from Panini, when this product first came out, I bought a case directly from Panini, and I opened it up, and I had a lot of great hits in it. And I hit a lot of Alex Morgan cards. So I put up in a Facebook group asking to trade, these cards for Trinity Rodman equivalents, some landmarks, some autos, some this, some that. And he responded, said he had the Trinity and he was interested in the Alex Morgan. So we traded. We traded the 2 cards. I sent him the Alex Morgan. He sent me a Trinity. Easy deal. And true story, that card arrived on Friday, and I was in a 12-case break on Sunday. So 12 cases, 240 blasters. The only Trinity Rodman card pulled in 12 cases, other than base cards, was the Landmark, the same card I traded him for. So now I have 2, but it was just so funny that after we made this deal, I was so excited, and I'm going to hold that card up here so you can see the Landmark, and the Landmarks, right there, where they rip like the downtown. They're similar to the downtown, but they're calling them Landmarks. Case hits, really kind of cool cards. Yeah, so it was funny that showed up on Friday, and through talking with him and asking him where he was getting into breaks for this and that, and he put me in touch with this group, and the same group he hit his, I hit mine. So it's kind of funny. This weekend, the Hofstra show. I'll be there set up Saturday and Sunday. Craig, New York City Sports Cards, he will be there with me Sunday morning. He's coming to hang out, be hanging out at the table. So if you're going to the show, a bunch of people have already asked me, what's your table number? And I reached out. This show, they don't have table numbers or booth numbers because it's really booths. There's all just booths there, and we're just part of booths over there. But come by, say hello. If you've seen me there before, I'm in the same place. I'll be set up at the same exact table, in the same booth, as I have been the last few years. So come say hello. Like I said, a lot of great new inventory. I'm super excited for this show. It's the first show in a while that, well, I shouldn't say that. So the Gillette show was kind of the same thing. I had a lot of inventory. I had a lot of hockey, right? And if you remember when my man Jordan came on, and we talked, and I said before the show, I said, I'm worried. I said, I really don't think this is going to be a good show. And if it wasn't for the Canadians that came to buy the hockey cards, the show may have not been that great for me. But them coming and just clearing out my hockey and trading hockey for football, for higher end football card. I mean, that's what made that show great for me. Getting ready for this show, like I know this show. I know hockey's going to be okay. It'll sell decent, not over the top, but it will sell decent as long as the cards are priced decent. And I got a lot of new football. I've picked up football along the way. I've traded up, traded into, and just cards that I know people are looking for. So I'm excited. I'm excited. This is a show I'm excited for that I know I get a lot of deals done. And I'm going to be set up too in my booth. I'll be set up next to my man Brad, friend of the show, at outlaws_sports_cards. He's been on the show a few times, and he'll be back on Monday's episode. We're going to do a recap. He's going to come on to do a recap for Monday's episode of the Hofstra Show. Hoping to record that on Sunday night. So it's there ready for you Monday morning. But if you don't see it Monday morning, it means we probably got home way too late to make that happen Sunday night. So we'll get it done on Monday. But either way, it should be a great episode, and hopefully be recapping a great weekend of a lot of sales and good times at the Hofstra Show. That's all I have for you. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please definitely subscribe. And most importantly, tell a friend and spread the word. And until next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you.